Alright, so I just saw Spike Lee's latest movie, Black Klansman. It's his latest movie since... Oh, wait a minute, not Black Klansman. Alright, I just saw Spike Lee's latest movie, Da 5 Bloods. It's his latest feature since Black Klansman. Black Klansman got a lot of hype, got Spike Lee his first writing Oscar, so there is a lot of hype towards this movie, and it did not disappoint. Despite what you think about Spike Lee's catalog, I believe he is an interesting guy and an interesting director. In this movie, 4 Vietnam veterans return to Vietnam to find their fallen comrade and to find some gold that they buried during the war. Instantly, once the movie starts and we get to see our 4 protagonists come together and, see each other again since who knows how long, we definitely feel a bond between them. For the first 40 minutes, really in the first act, we just see these guys doing some old guy stuff. They're just catching up, talking to each other, hanging out at bars. Once we go on this journey with the vets, and they finally start to go looking for the gold and their comrade, that's when we finally get to learn about them. Now, it's little things about them, but this is how Lee likes to share his ideas in this movie. He's talking about different aspects of America with these characters. Alright, so Lee talks about a lot of things in this movie. He talks about the opioid crisis, PTSD, MAGA, the use of race, and the use of the civil rights movement during the war, being a father figure, and, just about America today. Now, it's a lot to bring up. Some stuff may not have been talked about as much as other ideas, but I found it interesting that, each of these characters at least represented one of these things that Lee was talking about. It makes the relationship between this group of protagonists more dynamic because they have different ideals. Now, most of the actors in this movie have worked with Lee before. Clarke Peters' character represents Lee's ideals about the opioid crisis, how it may be used, addictively or for actual medical reasons.
You best be careful with that shit.
What is this, intervention?
You need one?
Y'all think I'm a junkie?
This theme is focused less, pretty much, compared to all the other themes that Lee is talking about, but it still adds to Peter's character. Norm Lewis immediately stood out to me. It might be the charisma he has, but I just found his performance very inviting. He's done mostly theater work before. I know he's in the Jesus Christ Superstar live Broadway TV event with John Legend, and he's also been in Les Mis, not the movie, the actual Broadway show. So he's a very talented guy. I'd like to see him work with Lee a little bit more. Lewis's character wants to do what's right for Black democracy. He thinks more in the mindset of his fallen comrade, played by Chadwick Boseman. There's also Isiah Whitlock Jr.
Think I'm gonna be the scapegoat for the whole damn machine?
His character is more underutilized than pretty much the entire rest of the group, but he's still good in it. We learn his goal is to move out of the neighborhood his family lives in. That's about it. He's mostly just there. Again, still thought he was good. Another protagonist in the movie is played by Delroy Lindo. Delroy Lindo plays the most interesting character in the movie. This is where we see more of the ideas and themes that Lee is going for. Lindo's character is a Trump supporter with PTSD, and he has pretty much different ideologies from everyone else in the group. It's compelling to see the journey he goes on in this movie, to see how he changes and how he grows. He also wears a MAGA hat that symbolizes greed in the movie, and that hat is worn by characters who want to use their own money for their own wealth.
That gold should go to our people.
Whoa, what you trying to say, man?
That gold should go towards Black liberation.
Yeah, our Black liberation. You do for self.
This is also where Lee gets to show his ideas about war and peace with Lindo's character and Chadwick Boseman's character. Boseman is this almost religious-like figure. He was also the 5th member of the Bloods. What's interesting about this relationship between Lindo and Boseman's character is that they had the strongest bond during the war, but they definitely thought completely differently. For example, when the 5 Bloods learned about the death of Martin Luther King while they were in Vietnam, Lindo wanted to go for blood and revenge, whereas Chadwick Boseman, he wanted to invoke Martin Luther King. He just wanted to stay peaceful and not really fight. Now, Jonathan Majors plays Lindo's son in this movie. Now, if you've seen Jonathan Majors before, then you definitely know what you're in for. He really knows how to steal a scene. He was definitely a scene stealer in The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Great movie. And he has once again shown that he's a great actor. When we see the flashbacks that include Boseman, we go from an aspect ratio of 2:3:5 to 4:3. The flashback scenes are also filmed in 16mm, really captures that era pretty well. This is also where Lee gets to dive into action. Now, he has done movies with intense moments, and it seems like a lot is going on in the movie, but this is straight up like helicopters, gunshots, blood. But he also gets to reference other war films. A big reference he makes is to Apocalypse Now. And while we're in the flashback scenes, our 4 main protagonists are in those scenes. They're not de-aged or anything. There's a little bit of makeup, but they basically look the same as they did today. I found it an interesting way to show how these characters feel stronger together. If Lee decided to de-age these actors or even hire younger actors to play them, I feel like there wouldn't have been as much of a strong bond between them. That's even between the movie and the audience. I get to experience it as what they feel. I also see it as a way to show how these characters remember those moments, like they were in that moment. Those flashbacks aren't the only action scenes though. There are a couple other important plot points that have good action and are also really intense. There's one scene in the middle of the movie that seemed to be like some of Lee's most intense stuff in a long time. It's really edited well. Majors and Lindo are really good in that scene. That's when their bond is really good. It builds the relationship between Lindo and Majors really well. And it also teaches about Black history. History is what Lee cares a lot about in this movie. He cares about it pretty much in all the movies he makes, but it's really important in this one. He makes important points about different Black voices during this time in the war. He also shows the cause and effects that this war had, not just to Black Americans, but also to Vietnamese people. He perfectly cuts archived footage into the movie. They're perfectly put into scenes that feel relevant, and they can be pretty haunting at times. The first act does take some time to get into, but it's an introduction to our characters that we get to learn and go on a journey with. But by the time you get towards the end of the movie, it feels like an intense exploration. The change of the aspect ratios felt natural, it didn't feel pretentious, and it gave Lee, a great chance to do some really cool blocking. All of the performances are great, but Delroy Lindo has given the best performance I've seen so far this year. Now, I know it's like July. Who knows what's gonna come out the rest of this year, but definitely my favorite performance of the year so far. These characters are rich, and the movie is full of history that I feel like has not been taught, stuff that I definitely was not taught about. The movie has its moments that feel relevant to today, but it's also about Black Vietnam veterans. At least from the research that I've done, this seems like something that really hasn't been made. It's unique of its time. I don't know what Lee is doing next, but it seems like he's starting to hit a stride of great movies again. Who knows? Maybe I'm speaking too soon. Fingers crossed he makes another great movie. I'm really excited to see what he does next. I'm also hoping we'll see some award recognition. Again, who knows how that'll go. But needless to say, it's a great movie. Definitely check it out. I'm gonna give it an 8.2 out of 10. All right, well, if you made it this far, thanks so much for watching. Definitely let me know what you thought of the movie, if you saw it. Do you plan on seeing it? What's your favorite Spike Lee movie? Favorite actor? Yada yada. What should I review next? I think I have an idea what I'll talk about next, but who knows, that might change within a week or so. So again, thank you guys for watching this. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. Definitely make sure you stay inside, exercise, and drink your milk. Have a great day.